We got a guest, got a guest. I admit that I'm impressed. Did somehow trick someone legit to come and sit and talk some
Stuff.
Hey there, Swarmcast folks. Nice to see you again. People don't know this, but I can actually see you guys through the lens of the camera. Yeah, they don't want you to know that, but it's true. So, anyways, who should we have on the show today? Hey, there's that Mothership game. I know. Since it's as I'm recording this, it is Tuesday night. I'll have somebody from Tuesday Night Games on. So, with me now is Alan Gerding.
Hey,
Hi.
good to see you, Toast.
Yeah. Hey, Alan. So,
Hey,
I pronounced the name right?
oh, you
Alan?
nailed it, Alan
Okay.
Gerding. Ding, you nailed it. Can't
So-
do it wrong.
I mean, I could have said, anyways, I could have said Gerding or something like that, but
I'll respond to pretty much anything as long as I know you're talking to me. I'll reply. So I think you're clearly talking to me. You nailed the Alan part. So
yeah.
hey, we're here.
Yeah. So I pointed to my copy of Mothership over there. Actually, it's John's copy, but you know, I
That's
He
the
doesn't-
deluxe
I
set
took it from
too.
him.
You went primo.
yeah.
Not just the basic set. I have the basic set right here behind me. And then my deluxe copy is down in the lower corner back here.
Oh,
I can
see it.
bring it out if you want me to see it. So
Oh.
deluxe. Ooh-wee.
It's so big and heavy. There's
Yeah.
a joke there
Next to
somewhere.
The regular. So
Yeah. So I've
Yeah.
got the zero edition for the regular set. I got the zero edition of Mothership, and I got that one. So I think I'm
Nice.
okay.
yeah.
But
Yeah, there's definitely some big changes from zero edition to first edition.
oh yeah,
Yeah, good stuff. But my zero edition is almost falling apart. I've used it so many times. It's got tabs and wrinkled corners, and that a lot of love went into zero edition and its use. So played it really regularly for years. Good stuff.
yeah, it's good stuff. Everybody should check out Mothership. In fact, right behind you, you'll see a poster for Two Rooms and a Boom.
Yeah.
That's a super awesome game too. If you and 30 of your best friends want to kind of hang out and play a nice little social deduction game, and you have a couple of rooms that you don't mind booming, go for it.
Thanks,
then-
Toast. Yeah. A lot of people say, I can't play Two Rooms and a Boom because I don't have enough players. You can
Right.
play with 6, but the sweet spot, in my opinion, is like 11, 14, that kind of thing. But my sales pitch is, well, the reason you don't have that many players is because you don't have the game. If you have the game, they will come. They will
Huh.
come.
Huh.
Yeah.
That probably, I have no way to disprove that. So, yeah.
We're just going to go with it.
We're gonna go with it.
Believe it. Yeah.
So, one of the big reasons I have you on this time was, first off, you said yes, and I was excited
Yes.
about that.
Right. I agreed to be here. That is one good reason.
Yeah. But also, it was a timing thing because I saw that you guys have, where is it? You have a new game out.
Yes.
Ah.
Father Fog.
Father
The
Fog.
fairy tale horror role playing game. Woo! Yeah, I have my copy here too.
Yeah.
And this is my only copy. I have other copies of the print edition, this is before it was even released. These are the PDFs, and they're
Wow.
slightly different versions. So when we initially released it, you'll know if you were a really early adopter if you downloaded the PDF on day one, because there's no map on the inside front cover.
Huh.
Whereas just 3 days later, we got Connor Fawcett's map in here for this beautiful art. Now I'm trying to get rid of the glare for you. So that's like just one of the differences just in the first 3 days. So we released it and then we updated it. But if you have the physical version, you have the up-to-date version as of this recording on this Tuesday.
Yeah. It's
May
Tuesday
26th.
night.
Tuesday
Yep,
night. Yes.
Tuesday night. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, before we go get into Father Fog, so why is your company called Tuesday Knigget Games?
It's a great question. Yeah. So every Tuesday night for over 13 years, I had a game party at my house. And this is before we started the company. And we're just about to have our birthday here for the company, 13 years of Tuesday night games. But when we got together and decided to start a company together, we're like, well, let's just call it Tuesday Night Games, spelled with a K, to add in that extra geeky flair. So it's just an homage to having Tuesday night games. And as weird as it sounds, I highly recommend that if you have a game night on a regular basis, make it every Tuesday night. Why? Because of science! Not really. I haven't done any personal research, but I'd be willing to do some research because there's something about Mondays aren't going to be saved. Mondays are always Mondays, whether you're Garfield or anyone else. They're not going to be fun. People dread the first work day. And then Fridays, you don't need a celebration. The weekend's the weekend. You can't touch that. Thursday, people are usually excited about Friday. Wednesday's hump day, that's right in the middle. But for some reason, if you have a game night on Tuesday, it injects just that amount of anticipation that makes your weeks go by so much sweeter and smoother. So I highly recommend Tuesday night game nights, and you'll find that your life boop, 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 is probably upgraded.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, yeah, I totally get it. It's a nice little sort of sweet spot. You finally have recovered from Monday, so yeah,
yeah.
cool,
It
very
actually
cool.
sweetens Mondays too because you're like, oh, it's Monday, but
Yeah,
tomorrow's Tuesday, and we can
yeah,
totally play games at so and so's. And the other thing too about having a weekly game night, you don't have to worry about re-inviting everyone. It's just like an open invite. Who can make
uh
it
huh,
this week? Who can make it this week? And so if someone misses a week, it's not a big deal because they know it's every Tuesday with rare exception. So yeah, make yourself have a good life. Have a Tuesday night game night.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like we did a little ad there for Tuesday nights and for your
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess I'm capitalizing on it, but at the same time, it's totally true. By the way, Toast, you're totally welcome. If you ever want to come to one of our Tuesday night game gatherings and you're in the Ohio
Hmm.
area, you just let me know. So that's
Hmm.
where I'm in the Cleveland area in Ohio, born and
Okay.
raised, baby. Yeah.
Okay. Well, if I ever decide to stop by the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame or something like that, then
Yeah.
I'll look you up. Actually,
Well,
I got a friend who lives in Ohio, so even more
so
of an
now you have
excuse.
two friends that live in Ohio. That's right, Toast.
Ah, awesome. Yeah, I actually am making more and more friends in Ohio because I've started showing up at Origin since last year, and people like to talk to me for some reason. It's kind of strange, but
I don't see
speak.
why they wouldn't like talking to you, Toast. You representing the puppet world very well out there and the gaming world together. And
Well,
if I shout out Ohio too, of course I'm totally partial, but it's a good spot for board gaming because we have a lot of creative forces here in the Ohio area, like Plaid Hat Games is also in the
oh
Ohio
yeah,
area. And we have just in Columbus, as you have already mentioned, Origins. And then it's just a quick jaunt to Indianapolis for Gen Con. And then it's even closer to go to PAX Unplugged in
oh,
Philly. So right here in the Cleveland or Ohio area, you got bam, boom, just like three major board game conventions ready to go. So I like it. Plus the housing situation is very affordable. So uh, check out Ohio if you can.
yeah. So I want to thank Alan Gerding from the Ohio Board of Touristry to coming on.
Yeah,
Right. That's
yep. That's who
that's not
pays
why we're here.
my yeah. That's where I get my money from.
Ah, no, we're here to talk about. Ah. this game, Father Fog. So, what's up with this game?
Father Fog, the fairy tale horror role playing game. Now, this is zero edition. It's kind of like an ash can comic in a way. The reason we call it zero edition is we just want people to try it out and get a basic set of the rules that makes it very playable. So we hope that it becomes popular enough that we have the full first edition, just like we did in Mothership. But you can download this for free at TuesdayNightGames.com and just give it a look. Ideally, you give it a play. But the pitch is this game takes place in a world where fairy tales are real, unfortunately. Because a lot of people forget that fairy tales and folklore are actually based in fear and horror to scare children into making sure they're not making bad decisions which could cost them their lives. Now, why Father Fog? Because not only are fairy tales real, but there is this steep fog that suddenly appeared and just didn't leave. And this fog seems to almost have a mind of its own. Therefore, it has really strangled civilizations because not only is there such a whiteout fog sometimes, or you can't even see your hand in front of your face, but there are creatures within the fog. And therefore, everyone just buckled down and stayed and sheltered in their hovels, their villages, their kingdoms, etc. Because to leave means to potentially die or fall prey to whatever's in the fog. Maybe it's the big bad wolf, maybe it's Baba Yaga, maybe it's some evil stepmother. There's so much evil out there, including maybe the fog itself. So you don't play a superhero. You don't even play one of the main characters in any fairy tales. You play just a regular old civilian citizen villager, which isn't good because, in fact, when you do a character creation in Father Fog, you're supposed to roll two characters. Not that you're going to play them simultaneously, but death is almost inevitable. So you have a spare character in your back pocket when your first one dies. There's a lot of interesting mechanics in here I'm really proud of too, to really simplify it because it's very narratively based. We don't have, as of this interview, any adventures out, but we're just about to release one at Origins. So I'm super excited. And that's what most people are saying about Father Fog. Like, hey, this is cool, but no adventures. And here's what's so incredible about that. We had the exact same feedback with Mothership. And so we
Ha!
released Mothership at Origins.
Uh
And then
huh.
by Gen Con, we had Dead Planet, the very first adventure for Mothership. And a lot of people forget that because a lot of people were like, what the hell, man? You're releasing a game without an adventure? We're like, it's that new. It's that new. So that's your basic pitch for Father Fog. 4 classes, all player facing roles. The guide, as we call the GM, doesn't have to roll any dice, it's all the players rolling it. And I am hooked on fairy tales. What about you? You have any favorite fairy tales? You're a Grimm fan? Maybe you're a fan of some of the other fairy tales or folklore from other nations or themes, Arabian Nights, etc. What do you think?
Oh my gosh. There's just so many. I do like a lot of the Grimm fairy tales. I tend to like. There's this one about a wolf. There's like a bunch of rabbits that have been left to sort of the mother rabbit says, you know, you're 50 rabbits or whatever it is. Take care of the house, and then this wolf shows up and like eats all of them except for one. And then the mom comes home and she like goes, okay, well I'm just gonna cut open his stomach, put a bunch of rocks in there, sew him back up, and then hilarity
Push him,
ensues.
yeah, push him into the river.
Right?
So even that story right there is a beautiful example of like how horrific fairy tales are because what's the inherent lesson there? It's like don't let in strangers, otherwise they will murder and eat you. But then
Yeah,
also there's this inherent message of revenge, which is so body horror gruesome, cutting open someone or something and then putting rocks in there so they sink to the bottom.
yeah.
It's incredible. I'm really partial to the juniper tree, not just the story, but actually, in fact, this is one of my favorites of all time. This is the juniper tree. And this is a collection of grim fairy tales in 2 books. I got this when I was a wee lad, and my nan and gramps, because my mom's 100% English off the boat, so my nan and gramps English as well, and they got me these books. And the cool thing is, they are illustrated by Maurice Sendak. So Where the Wild Things Are, and it
Oh,
has just this
cool.
really, really cool artwork that's
Wow.
beautiful, but at the same time is disturbing. Like the proportions are slightly wrong, and there's also, if you look, almost Where's Waldo horror to it, where there's like skulls in the background or just some things aren't going right.
Huh.
But this is the series of books that I learned to read on. Like I just kept on reading and reading these things because I was afraid that my nan and gramps and my parents didn't realize how violent and gruesome and gory these books were. And so I was just so hooked, and I was worried that they'd realize, like, oh, wait a second, he's reading really, really macabre stuff. We need to get that out of his possession. And so it really fast forwarded my love and skill in reading as a kid, because man, I just wanted to make sure I read them all beforehand. But the juniper tree has decapitation in it. This woman slams a chest down on a little boy and it decapitates him. So right then and there, it's like already, holy cow. And I was reading that at such a young age. I love it. Not sure what that says about my sanity that I love little boy decapitation, but there you go.
Yeah, to each their own.
Right. Yeah.
So,
I could just keep on talking and oozing about Father Fog, but I don't want to totally take control of the show and just keep on babbling on about my love of fairy tales and Father Fog.
well, I mean, we will talk more, but I'm going to ask a couple
Let's hit me.
questions
Hit
about it.
me.
Okay.
I'm here for you.
So, let's say that I'm already a Tuesday Night Games fan. I've been playing Mothership for a while. Mechanic wise, am I going to be able to just jump right into Father Fog?
Almost. You're going to feel at home with a few transitions because Mothership and Father Fog, they're almost sister type games. We still have the D100 system where you have to roll under. So if you have a strength of 30, you need to roll 29 or less in order to succeed that strength check. We actually have fewer stats and saves in Father Fog than we do in
Okay.
Mothership. So in Father Fog, there's for saves, there's mind, body, and spirit, which kind of go together. And then corollary to those things are the strength, intellect, and will. Like strength almost has to do with your body, intellect obviously has to do with your mind, but then will and spirit are adjacent as well. And we just have the 4 classes. The 4 classes are worker, philosopher, hunter, and stranger. And so those may sound somewhat familiar to Mothership because Mothership only has their 4 classes as well. But there's some other very mechanical differences. For instance, Mothership has a stress system where
Mm-hmm.
you gain stress, and Father Fog, however, has a hope system where you start with a whole bunch of hope, but you lose the hope. So in Mothership, you kind of have to shift gears when it comes to doing a stress check to see if you are going to panic, hence the panic engine. But in Father Fog, it's a hope save. Just like you'd roll a body save or a mind save or a spirit save, you're rolling a hope save. So you don't really have to pivot mechanically there. There's also something called a bit system, which is where you take the ones place of your D100 rolls, and it's basically condensing the rolls into one roll. So instead of having to roll to see if you hit and then having to roll to see how much damage you have to do, you just, if you succeed, you cause that much bit of damage or you lose that a bit of hope. So let's suppose you fail a hope save or you fail a mind save, we'll say, of like 37, 37, 3, 7, and you lose a bit of hope. That means you just lost 7 hope because 7 was the ones place
Okay.
in. Yeah. So that's like the bit system.
Huh.
So mechanically, there are differences there. There's differences in skills and character sheets, but you'll feel kind of familiar, almost as if you go back to a childhood friend's home that you used to hang out with when you were a kid, but the family's done a whole bunch of remodeling. You haven't been there in like 10, 20 years, but you come back and you're like, oh yeah, this is coming back to me, but isn't this different? And isn't, I don't remember this being here. So that's how I think you may experience it. It's nostalgic, but new.
Huh. Okay. And it's all that new stuff that really adds to the flavor of this game, or Father Fog versus Mothership. Because in Mothership, it's like, oh my god, aliens are coming out of the wall. What am I gonna do? What am I? Oh, I'm dead. Whereas in this game, it's like, I don't know what's going on. Oh no, my worst fear just attacked me, or was it a bear? I don't know what it is. Ah, I've run out of hope. I don't know if I can make it back. And you might
Yeah.
still die. But if you
Yeah.
die, so death has a very interesting mechanic in this game as well. Let's
Yes, it
talk about
does.
that because I find that to be very interesting in this game.
Yeah, most people say when they fan on Father Fog, they love the theme, they love death, and they love the legacy artifact. In Grim Fairy Tales and many other folklore worldwide, death is not just something that happens to people, it is an actual person. Death is personified. So
Right.
when you die, if you get to 0 health points, death appears and you have to roll a body save. If you fail the body save, death just takes you to the afterlife. If you succeed, death barters with you and gives you some health back, but at a cost. Many of those things are simply body parts. Oh, you lose a finger, lose some teeth, an arm, a leg. It could be something that's more metaphysical or psychological, where you've lost the
Hmm.
ability to lie, maybe, or maybe you lose uh, I'll have to check because that's the other thing is that when I wrote this thing, I wrote so many ding dang examples for not just death, but also despair. So there's so many ways that you can lose your life and limb in this. I am partial, but I love it. But basically, let's suppose you get 0 hit points again and you succeed your body save again, you have to give death yet another piece of yourself. But if you don't have that piece to give, then he's going to take you away. So let's suppose you lost your right arm to death previously, and then you barter with death the next time, and he wants your right pinky. Now, that's way less expensive than your entire right arm, but he already took your right arm. So he already has your right pinky, so you're no longer able to give him your right pinky. Sorry, you're now going into death's domain. So it's one of these very theatrical, melodramatic experiences where during combat, things may pause, or during some traumatic encounter, things pause for the person who just lost all their health. And now they're almost in this ethereal realm interacting with death. Do the other characters see death? Do they see this interaction? Has time stopped? That's up to, I think, your players and your guide. How do you think it goes down? Because that's one of the beautiful things about role-playing games is it's there to inspire these ideas, I believe, and it shouldn't be so heavy-handed to tell you this is exactly what stories happen, how they happen, and here are the very specific details. Instead, inspire everyone else to come up with their own.
That's very cool. I like that. In fact, I think it was interesting how in your game it says, "Go ahead and make 2 characters just right now before you start."
Yeah, yeah, because combat's really brutal and people are learning that really quickly. It's brutal both ways. And I hate to say try to make it realistic, but in a way it is, in that if you're fighting someone with deadly weapons, and sometimes even not, it's pretty rare that both parties walk away unscathed, but you could potentially be killed in one hit and you can kill your opponents in one hit. Usually it takes two or three for either one, but The other scary thing is that your enemies never miss. As we call it, monsters never miss. So even if
Oh,
you're successfully hitting someone
ha,
in combat, you're never doing it without getting scathed yourself. You always lose at least a bit of health, unless your guide says otherwise. I mean, critical successes, of course, you're probably going to get away unscathed. But this is to simulate what it's like to be in melee or a fight, something like that. That's why range weapons are so valuable too, is because you can go ahead and engage in combat potentially without taking any damage yourself. It's also
ha,
why armor is so important to reduce that damage. It's just supposed to be scary. You're supposed to be afraid of violent encounters, just like we are in life. Like if violence was all over the place in our society, more so than it is now, greatly more so, yeah, you should be scared of it because the chances aren't good that you'll walk away okay.
ha. That fits the theme very well. So, why why is the game called Father Fog? I get the fog part, but why the father part? At first, I thought maybe it was a play on, Mother Goose. So yeah, Father Fog.
Yeah, great question. You're not alone. A lot of people ask that. Father Fog has to come from the fact that it is indeed a sister game to Mothership. So there is that play there, Mothership, Father Fog.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I'd be lying if I denied that that was the case. But we didn't just want to call it the fog or fairy tale fog. There are these names that we rolled around with and wrestled with, but ultimately we set upon Father Fog. And the reason I like Father Fog so much is because one of my favorite fairy tales of all time in the Juniper Tree collection and almost all the collections of Grimm fairy tales, if it's worth its salt, is Godfather Death. And so I love this idea that death has this
Hmm.
familial relationship. In the story, there is a boy who is born, but they need to find a godparent for that child. And so they had different people audition for it, including like the devil was one of the people that tried to audition. But then death came and death said, hey, no one's more fair than I am. I am the embodiment of equality and complete fairness because no one escapes death. And it's like, hey, that's great. And that's what the parents wanted for their child. And sure enough, the parents died. And so Godfather Death kind of ushered this child and taught him the trade of being a doctor, a physician, etc. And so this Godfather Death just really stuck with me in so many ways, including the fact where I don't know how everyone else pictures death, but I picture death as this incredibly wise and caring, but also very detached. I know those are almost antonyms of one another, caring and detached, but it's like death has this immutable job that death has to do. And that doesn't mean that death doesn't care about anybody, but because he does care about everybody, he can't have favoritism. So it's almost like being a teacher, like if you're a teacher, you want all of your students to succeed. But then there's that one maybe special student that says, hey, could you give me special treatment? Could you give me extra time or boost my grade up from a B to an A or whatever? It's like, I can't do that because if I were to do that, that would be unfair to everyone else. Ramble, ramble. Obviously, I have this idea of a gentleman death in my mind, not like this horrific monster known as death. I'm always curious what to hear other people's interpretations are. But having that
Ha.
familial idea of it being scary and intimidating and partial led to the idea of father being in the name of fog because it is kind of birthing all of these horrors and monstrosities, but also these wonderful opportunities to really bring hope back to your village. I
Okay.
can talk more about that as well. I mean, it starts to get hoity-toity and maybe a little bit poetic in a sense, but one of the things that I really love about Father Fog is there no longer has to be a distinction between your players and your characters, the characters your players are playing, because whatever you as a player knows about fairy tales so does your character. So if you're walking around and
Huh.
you find a cottage that's made of candy, you're like,
Yeah.
hey, I heard of this story before. This is like the Hansel and Gretel story. There's probably a witch in there. Your character knows it too. You don't have to pretend like you don't know what trolls are or what the big bad wolf is.
Huh.
But that's what the fun part is as a guide or whoever's making adventures. You can use players' common knowledge of fairy tales to really bring them in and attach them to the story you're trying to share, but also use it as a trick to take advantage of them and subvert their expectations. Like maybe it's not a witch in there. Maybe the witch has been maligned incorrectly and it's actually someone who's really kind that's in the candy cottage, and all these other ideas. Like maybe the big bad wolf is a werewolf, so it's not just big bad wolf, but it's a human that comes into a form. Or maybe it's just an allegory for just some serial killer out there who they call the big bad wolf, but realistically it's just some guy with a big beard. Who
Huh.
knows? The ideas are limitless. It's such an endless pool of ideas that we can all pull from. I'm
That's
obsessed
very
with fairy
cool.
tales. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it shows. It shows in this product. And I look forward to seeing what sort of adventures come out and what sort of adventures other people come out with. Because other people write adventures for Mothership, and other people come up with stuff for can come up with stuff for this as well. Um, Oh my gosh. Just looking through the legacy artifacts, it really shows the amount of detail, the amount of love that you've put into this project. So I'm gonna ask, because I see what time it is, I'm gonna ask a few last questions before we kind of wrap up. One of them though
okay.
is um, what is your favorite legacy artifact in your game?
Whoa, that's like choosing your favorite baby. I'm not sure I can. So just to be clear, legacy artifacts are these almost secret. They don't have to be secret, but it's recommended because it's always kind of cool to have an ace up your sleeve where the
Yeah.
guide has a private conversation when a player rolls on this table, and it's an artifact that stays with the player, not the character. So when your character dies, your next character inherits this legacy artifact, and each one's really unique. And showing you a little bit behind the scenes here, I have my actual Father Fog notebook where I've been working in for years on this thing. And so I have 100, I have over 100, so I had to make some cut. But here's some artwork of different legacy artifacts in here. And most of them, almost all of them, I literally just stole from fairy tales, right?
Hmm.
For instance, there's a bloody spindle in there. The spindle that is from Frau Holla, I think is how you pronounce it. It's very German, but that's like an obscure fairy tale. My favorite one, I don't want to plot spoil, so we'll just share one because I want them to be surprises and whatnot. It has to be the blue key.
Oh my goodness. I was just reading about that one and I was like, oh, I know that. I know that reference. That's so
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, and that's the fun thing is like if a player knows the reference, like, oh, this is so cool or whatnot. I've played several campaigns of Father Fog at this point. At one point I was running almost three at the same time. It was like overlapping. There were pauses, but in one of the campaigns, one of the players had the blue key and they used it perfectly. And the blue key can open any lock, any doorway with it. But when you open it, it no longer goes to wherever it is. It takes you to a dark room. And inside that room is horrible stuff. But at least you can enter that and come out it if you want to. For instance, the all the players were about to die from this big bad, and this character for the first time pulled out the blue key and said hold on and closed the door, used the blue key to unlock the door, and then they opened it and they all jumped into this dark room and slammed the door and waited for everything on the other side of the door to settle down. And then when they came out, but all of the fellow characters were like, "What is this room we're in?" And the character who owned the blue key said, "Just don't look around. Don't light a torch. Don't
Yeah.
look, just we're just gonna stay here. And like, why is the floor sticky? Like, why does it smell bad in here? Like, don't worry about it. Just let's just wait it out until we think that big bad on the other side of this door is gone. So anyway,
Wow.
fun stuff. But that one's probably my favorite because of the possibilities.
Okay. Wow. Very cool. So, all right, I'm gonna ask you a couple questions that I ask all the guests who have been on the show so far.
Hit
All
me,
right,
toast.
here we go. So, when you play a game, an RPG in particular, what type of character do you tend to like to play?
My answer is not going to be original, which is probably why it's not original. First of all, I'm a diehard GM. I always
Right.
prefer hosting. In fact, that's true even when it comes to board games. Like, my dirty secret is I don't love board games. I love hosting board games. I think board games and games in general are the lubricant for making memories with your friends and family, right? So the game shouldn't get in the way of having contact and memories with your friends and family. And I think that's where role playing games really shine, is that it's all about these memorable experiences with the players around the table. But if I am going to be a character, I love characters that are awful. Not awful in that they're evil. They just have really bad stats. Like, there's nothing cooler than like a
Oh, okay,
fighter
okay.
or a warrior that has very little strength, or like a
Huh.
bard who has horrible charisma, etc., because that's so much more interesting. It's kind of the opposite of min-maxing. I never want to be a munchkin. I always want to have these obstacles because so many great stories happen from failure. And maybe that's why Sean and I make these games that are so brutal, where failure is just around every corner, is because that makes it interesting. Like, I really want to do this, but it's probably not going to work, but I'm going to try it anyway and let's see what happens. Just
Okay.
so fun. So I like the failing character, the character that just sucks.
Okay. I know that I see the charm in that. So my next question is, what got you into gaming?
I have two main answers, but I'll go with a more common one. Hero Quest. Imagine
Oh, okay.
Christmas, 1989. I'm looking under the Christmas tree and I see this big long box. What the hell is this? I open it up to find out my father had bought me Hero Quest, with the barbarian with his broadsword, and the wizard and the elf and the bow, and just the box art alone just totally transports you. And I wasn't really into gaming before that, but here I got to play the part of the dungeon master, Zargon, the evil wizard, and I got to control all these miniature orcs and goblins and skeletons and the gargoyle. It's just so cool. And all the miniature furniture, everyone wanted to play. It was such a visual piece of work that people saw it on the table and said, "Oh, I want to play." And so I got to be in control as the youngest nobody in the family. Suddenly I got to host people. And so it just really engaged not just my love of gaming, but my love of being a GM and my love of hosting. And so, again, it's not about the games. I'm so used to being on the other side of the table
Yeah.
that I just want to see players having fun and making memories so we can look back at it. That's how you know you've got a good game on your hand, is that when it's over, if your players are still talking about it, that's a big thumbs up. So Hero Quest
Hero
really
Quest.
scratched that itch for me. Yes,
Awesome.
absolutely.
Awesome. That's very cool. So, wow. So we've been having a good time here talking with Alan Gerding from Tuesday Night Games, Tuesday KNIGHT, for those of you
Mhm.
who don't get confused.
Spelled with a
Tuesday,
K.
spelled with a K. Um, and we've been, well, he's mentioned a bunch of their games that they have, but we've been mostly talking about Father Fog and how horrible it is to live inside the world of fairy tales. horrible and fascinating at the same time.
There we go. Yeah,
Yeah.
wonderful. I
There's your
love horror. It's just
there's
so
your
good.
your tagline. Father Fog, horrifying and fascinating at the same time.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
You could put like
I appreciate you, Toast.
toast approved on the back of that with me with a thumbs up. Yeah.
That would be great. I imagine it looking like a piece of toast, like on your shirt, but also with your face on it, Toast. Maybe you're giving
Ah,
thumbs up. Man, I would buy
okay.
that sticker any day.
Hmm. I'll have to get on that. Well, cool. So, Alan, where can our viewers and or listeners go to find you and your products?
We are at TuesdayNightGames.com, night spelled with a K, but even if you don't spell it with a K, it'll still take you to our website. We own both domains. But there
That's
you can
pretty
find a
good.
whole bunch of things. You can subscribe to our newsletter so you get updates, etc. You can also find us on all the socials, whether it be YouTube or Instagram, Facebook, etc., that kind of thing. Just look up Tuesday Night Games and you'll find it. We also have our specific product following. We have a very strong mothership Discord. We're not affiliated with it, but there's always strong followings on Reddit too. Like there's a Father Fog subreddit that's fantastic, already
Hmm.
alive and thriving. So if you just try, you should find us. Otherwise, we're not doing our job.
Okay. So go out there and just type all that stuff in, and you'll find Tuesday Night Games. Or
Totally.
if you want to catch these guys live and in person and tell them, hey, I saw you talking to Toast on YouTube, you'll be able to find them at Origins this year and at Gen
Origins,
Con
Gen Con, and PAX Unplugged.
and
We'll be
PAX
at all three
Unplugged.
of those. We're always at BGG Con in the fall as well, but
Uh
we
huh.
don't have a booth or anything there. We're just hanging out playing games. That's when we have our company business. Because I live in
Huh.
Cleveland, Sean lives in Texas. So
Okay.
BGG Con being in Texas, that's when we all get together. But yep, say hi. Don't be a stranger.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks again, Alan. I hope to see you at, well, I guess Origins is going to be the first time I get to actually catch up with you this year. And I'll stop by the booth and say, and I'll bug Sean and say, hey, Alan said to give me that stuff right there for free.
It will work like a charm. I'll make sure I put in a little message there like Toast gets what Toast wants.
Yeah. All
All
right.
right, Toast. Thank you so much, sir.
Yep.
Have fun.
Well, that's the end of the Swancast show. If you like it, you know what to do. Hit the like, subscribe, and that bell too. Haha, yeah. That's what to do. Check us out on the Blue Sky, yeah, and the Facebook too. Haha, yeah. Just rocking out with you. Yeah. What the? Oh, I guess that's it now. Mwah.